Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tyler Rowland here, coming from Louisville Ballard High School, and it's an honor today to be with the players and the coaches as they're at practice. And I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce the head coach of Ballard, Chris Renner. Over 600 wins in his career, a state championship, and several deep runs in the state tournament. And even though it's going to be his last year, he's leaving quite a legacy. And Coach, it's good to have you on and talk about, first off, we'll talk your coaching career. What was it that led to you having an interest in coaching, and where did you start out coaching?
Well, I was a junior in high school, and I played basketball at Wagner High School, and I wasn't very good. And like a lot of kids, I was dreaming that I was going to be some great player, but kind of hit me when I was a junior that I wasn't going to be this NBA player that I dreamed of. And, I think sitting on the bench, I learned to love the game of basketball and looked at it from a different perspective, and that's when I decided I wanted to start coaching basketball. And so after I had graduated from Wagner High School, my head coach, Rob Driggers, told me the job at Westport Middle School was open, and I was a freshman in college, and I decided to take that job at Westport, and that was the start of my coaching career.
And what is it with the Ballard community? What is it that you like about the area and the Louisville community?
Well, I'm from Louisville, and so, to be honest with you, growing up a Wagner fan and graduate, I didn't like Ballard. It was so bad that when the job came open and I applied, I told my wife the night before the interview that I didn't want to go. And she was like, look, you got to go and at least, do that part. And then they offered me the job, and my athletic director at Wagner was like, Coach, you got to take the job, I walked in and my first day, put that Ballard shirt on, and I was like, what have I done? And then I go into practice and I see the players, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. So here I am 24 years later, still coaching here.
And for somebody that may have an interest in getting into the coaching profession, actually I'll do a two-part on this. What would your advice be first for if you could go back and talk to yourself from your first year of coaching? If you could go back and talk to, in your first year, what would you tell yourself?
Wow, that's a tough one, because the first year we won a state championship here at Ballard. But I think I think the thing that it's important to do as a young coach, and just in coaching in general, is absorb the people around you. When I was growing up, I loved watching the University of Louisville. I was a huge Denny Crum fan, and I would just kind of write the plays down and just study the game of basketball. And as well as I would watch Kentucky and Joe B. Hall, and I just started to learn from those guys. And then as I started to coach, I went to coaching clinics, and I learned some things. And then, fortunately in my coaching career, I've had mentors in terms of coaches I've played for, and there's been a lot of great coaches around the state of Kentucky that when I was younger, they were the older coaches. Bobby Keith, spent a lot of time talking to him about the game of basketball. Dale Mabry at PRP, Billy Hicks. Bill and I developed a really good friendship, and I've tried to learn as much about the game of basketball, pick their brain. Bryce Hibbard, that was at Eastern High School in Mayo. So I wasn't too good to where I couldn't learn from other coaches.
And what would you tell somebody today if they're starting in the coaching profession? What advice would you give them?
Well, I think that's kind of the same thing, that, you've got to, you create your own philosophy and style of play in coaching, but at the same time, we're not reinventing something, we're not creating something. We're picking what other people do, and there's a lot of coaches out there that might not have won a state championship that have a lot of wisdom. And when I took over here as well, I talked to Mike Campbell at Butler about some things, and to this day I do some of the things he talked about. And Scotty Davenport, I came in here and picked his brain on what did you do to help win a state championship here. And so my advice to the younger coaches is don't get so wrapped up in the game and so competitive that you're not willing to listen to some of the veteran coaches around the state.
And one thing that always, and having seen your team play multiple times over the years, that always just stood out to me. They always show excellent sportsmanship. They're very community minded. I see stuff on the internet, projects they take on and do. Talk about the importance of that from your perspective, just having that kind of an atmosphere with a team.
Well, again, I've been blessed to be here at Ballard High School, and the tradition and the culture was created far before I got here. And that's one of the things great about Ballard, that there's great diversity, there's great opportunities around here for the kids to be involved in other things, and they get to learn a lot of positive lessons. And so, that's the one thing, is we don't have to preach a whole lot about it. These kids are receptive to doing the right thing. We do a weekly team chapel, so our guys get to experience of that. We've been doing some other things this year in terms of mental health stuff, and we just try and encourage the guys to just again, do the right thing, make the right decisions. We do camps around here and clinics, and I think they get a chance to work with younger children and all of that stuff, special needs kids. That just helps build the character.
And I know one thing for you with, you mentioned chapel, your faith in Christ has been a big part of your career and a big part of who you are. And just talk about that and just what it means to you.
Yeah, that it is. It's a big part of my life, and unfortunately, just sometimes when I get coaching, I'm not the best example. That's a sin in me. That's the struggles that I have. I'm competitive, and sometimes when I get competitive, I lose perspective. And so, it's something I've talked to God for a long time about and prayed about, and but my faith is important. And with the team, we don't push anything on the guys. We just want them to understand that, life is more than just basketball and the physical. They've got to understand the spiritual perspective and the emotional and the social and all that to make a well-rounded young man. And so, nothing pleases me more, to be honest with you, than when I see guys go off to college and then I see that they've accepted Christ and made that decision. And to me, that's just the best decision they can make in their life.
Wow, yes, very well said. And lastly, any shout-outs you would like to give?
Man, I there's no way I could have done this without my wife, Jill. In coaching, it's hard. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of hours in the gym. It's a lot of film at home. Unfortunately, Coach Goodwin does that for us, and it's a lot of and I guess that's the other shout out for Coach Goodwin, because he takes his time to film. But to have a supportive spouse that understands the grind that we have to go through, but at the same time is supportive and gives me space and encourages me and holds me accountable when I don't do the things that I need to do. So that's obviously she's the one that I owe it all to.
Yeah, it's very well said. Well, Coach, thank you for being on today. And stay tuned. Be sure you can find plenty of highlights and, of course, interviews from Ballard from their players, coaches. You'll see plenty on YouTube. And be sure to check local providers for following this team. They're a lot of fun to watch. So we thank you for tuning in today. And be sure to stay tuned, because we will also have interviews with players Gabe Sisk and Maker Barr coming up. Tyler Rowland here. Thank you.